All right, what's up guys? It's Daniel Baruch with Baruch Works, and today I'm gonna show you some of the process behind taking broken skateboards and we're gonna turn them into this. Broken skateboards, turning them into a stack of lumber, and then from that stack of lumber, we turn them into panels, and then from there, we use our Total Boat Deep Fathom epoxy, and then we make these big blocks of broken skateboards and epoxy, which we then shape. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these big blocks and we're gonna turn them into this. So first thing we're gonna do is use a template, and we're gonna trace around the template to give us the rough shape. And then from there, we're gonna go to our bandsaw and we're gonna do a rough cut. And then after we finish at the bandsaw, we're gonna go over to the router table with a couple different trim bits. And we're gonna follow the template using some double stick tape and our rough cut pieces. And then after that, we're gonna add roundovers, which will give us this nice like rounded profile view. So yeah, you guys follow along. This is what we're gonna do today. First thing I gotta do today is take these blocks of broken skateboards and epoxy out of the mold. So that's what I'm about to do. All right, now that we took all the screws out of the molds, we get to do the cool part, which is to knock the borders off. I always like doing this. Okay, it's all 4-on-1. Check this out. So the epoxy doesn't like bond with this PPE plastic or PFE. I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't bond with it, but it will stick to it, and the caulk that we use kind of sticks to it a little bit too, but once you get it to loosen, it comes right off. And the way that I do that is I use this little putty knife, and I just tap it all the way around and just kind of break the seal of the caulk and that little bit of epoxy stick. Okay, so it's starting to release. All right. Okay, boom. It's pretty clear. Whenever we sand it and finish it, it gets clearer. So you can see, like, for being super unfinished, it's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So now that we got our blocks demolded, you guys can see they're really clear. The next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna trace with a Sharpie and the template. But before we do that, I just wanted to, I think like a lot of people always ask like what type of epoxy we use. And we use different types, but we always use Total Boat. So for this particular pour, so because it's a deep pour, we're using their Thickset Fathom. And their Thickset Fathom is meant to be poured up to 2 inches thick. So in one pour. So you can pour this whole block in one pour, which is pretty cool because it minimizes the bubbles. When you look at the side, there's no like layers or anything. So it's pretty cool. We use Total Boat's Thickset Fathom. And that stuff has a 72-hour cure time. I use a template. So this is just a template that I made out of some Luan. I have a whole bunch of these. And I just like walk it down and trace it. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so now that we have our blocks of epoxy and broken skateboards demolded, and we have our templates traced on here, we're gonna rough cut at the bandsaw. And what we wanna do Whenever we cut, we just don't want to cut off all of the black line. We just want to leave a little bit. Even if it's just a tiny little bit, that'll be sufficient. So let's cut these. First, we're going to turn on our Harvey dust collector in the coolest way possible. It's like a car. It's pretty sick. It's got a key fob. Makes me feel cool every time I do this. I'm not cool, but it makes me feel cool. And then our brand new Harvey bandsaw. Perfection. That's it. We're gonna get through a set of legs today. I wanted to show you guys. So one thing I do that I think is cool is the leftover scraps from my broken skateboard and epoxy table legs. I take these cutoffs and I put them in the mold, and then I do the process again. And what I get in the end is something like this. So this is a table leg for one of my bean tables. So I use the scraps from the cutoffs, the offcuts of my broken skateboards and epoxy table legs, and then I put them back into a mold, fill that with epoxy, and then repeat the process. And what you get is something like this, where you have the broken skateboard sliver, something like this, that has been cast in epoxy and then reformed. So I try to have like no waste, or as little waste as possible. So we have our table legs all rough shaped, you guys can see. So there's bandsaw marks around all of them. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our template. So this is just a template that I made from like some Luan plywood, and I'm using double stick tape, and I'm gonna stick it to each one. And then we are going to use a router bit, a trim bit with a bearing, and the bearing is gonna run along the Luan template, and it's gonna cut everything above it exactly as the same shape as the template. So what we have to do right now is one by one, we'll double stick tape, then we'll go to the router table, route it out, remove the template, and then go to the next one. Double stick tape, router table, remove the template, go to the next one. So let's get into it. So if you guys look, there's a slight overage around the entire piece. So now when the bearing runs along the Luan template, the bit will cut everything above that exactly to the shape. We got all of our table legs now. We have all of them the same shape. So they're all identical to our template shape, but now we have to make them round. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take a big round over bit, and we're gonna set the depth of the bearing to about midway up the table leg. And that on all four sides should give us a pretty rounded table leg. So let's do that. very last step in this process is to add the mounting squares onto the tops of the legs. And what we do here is we drill 4 holes on each one with a hole large enough to flush mount the table mounting hardware. And then after we drilled that hole, the largest hole, we go in with a smaller drill bit. And this is just slightly larger than the diameter of the mounting hardware bolt. And that allows a little bit of play if there's any sort of an offset between the threaded inserts that we mount to the underside of the table and the mounting hardware. And that's pretty much it. Once we have both of these attached and we mount the squares to the table legs, we then get them ready for finish by doing a final polishing, and then we use a spray lacquer. And that's our process.